Hello and welcome to What Now with Anna and Eric. I'm Anna.
I'm Eric, and this is Quarantine Edition.
This is quarantine edition. I am pretty excited.
I'm a little jealous that you got to hang out with Kelly Drake in person, and now I have to be quarantined in my home on my own.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
honestly, it wasn't really the government rules. It was you I was concerned about.
you just didn't want me around. That's great.
We need separate spaces.
That's awesome. You know what? I'm glad. I'm still glad to see you. I'm glad to see anybody
Yeah.
really right now. That's,
Yeah.
that's about where we're at in
Even if
life.
it's in a video call.
I don't care. I miss people.
Yeah.
So.
So, still reading the Bible. That's it.
What? You're still
Yeah.
reading it? I thought quarantine we gave up on that. No?
Now,
Uh,
So, what's your 3-word summary?
my 3-word summary is I need this. That's my 3-word summary because you know what? I really need God's word right now in my life.
Yeah.
And we got out. So I don't know if maybe I was playing catch up or where we were really at, but getting into Joshua, I needed that. It was like crossing a finish line into something
Yes.
new. It was so
You
exciting.
get past the tabernacles and you get into like action sequences.
I was so excited. I definitely needed this. So that's my 3-word summary right now. It's a little personal summary, but that's my 3-word summary.
No, I
How
feel
about
it.
you?
So mine is attack. And it's so long, it encompasses 3 words.
You couldn't do attack. You had to do.
I guess I could go with that. It felt like more intense if you just draw it out.
You know, you know what the thing is I've realized is we're supposed to have a 3-word summary for what's going on, and mine is usually personally what is going on with me, and yours is never 3 words. So,
Well, okay.
all right.
Let
You know
me
what?
attack
We're not really rule followers.
every person. That's my 3-word summary.
You know, sub note, you know what I realized in this pandemic world that we live in and through
Yeah.
video calls is how much I itch my nose and touch my face. And you're not supposed to do that. It's a horrible habit. No, don't do it. Don't do it. They say don't do it.
Safety first.
Anywho, there we go. So that's the 3-word summaries. We hit it. Look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
Video check.
So here's my catch-up
Hit the
tip.
music?
Oh,
No, not hit the music.
I don't have the music for this. I'd have to play it on my phone in the background. Okay,
You know what would have been You know what would have been so cool if you would have had somebody come in and start playing the drums.
do the live.
The
Yes,
live
in the background.
that would have been
Next
that would have
time.
been incredible.
Oh,
But
but we're in
anyway, what's the
quarantine.
catch up tip?
People couldn't come anyways.
Yeah, true enough. You would just have to do it all.
It would be a solo one. I'll just go back and
There you
forth and switch between instruments because that feels right.
All right. So what's your catch up tip?
So my
Anime Martin?
catch-up tip is for the people who are, out there and they just really wish that they could hang out and talk to somebody, even if it is just in video. This is a great excuse to chat with somebody on video. Be like, hey, do you want to just video FaceTime me or Facebook video, whatever it is? There's so many different options. And just, do you want to just read the Bible with me once a day? Me and you. And that's a cool opportunity that you can get together with people and have that layer of accountability. I
There
mean,
you go. I love it. And my catch up tip was, what else do you got to do? Come on, like listen, everything's canceled. Listen, if you can't catch up in this time, I don't know what's going on. Like seriously, just touched my face again. It happened again. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it through this pandemic, Anna, just so you know. So archive these videos.
Honestly, yesterday I didn't realize it was Wednesday until 5 o'clock in the evening or afternoon. I was so shocked. My sister kept telling me it was Wednesday, and I'm like, no, it's not Wednesday.
It is not. You should make up new days. Like you're a writer. You should make up new days.
Yes. Kerfuffleday.
I think that would be great.
Okay, so here's here's our fairly normal people talking about the Bible. Can you hear that? Technology, people. It's amazing.
Production quality.
Yeah, it's way down. It's way down. Tell you what, quarantine changes things. So good. All right. Next week, look forward to a live version.
I'm gonna have like curlers in my hair. My makeup's gonna be all messed up. I'm gonna be a mess. I don't know if I can take much more of this. I don't know how I'm gonna make it 3 weeks.
No judgment.
Not a chance.
Okay, so man,
yes.
we read a chunk. And when I say a chunk, I don't mean like a lot, but like a lot of different things. I mean, we were in Deuteronomy, there was a Psalm in there was Chronicles in there was Joshua in there. So we were all over the place. It was a lot of stuff.
I do like the fact that we're getting Chronicles out of the way here. Like it's we're gonna hit Chronicles nice and be later. Like, no, just move past that. We're gonna get right over that. But yeah, this reading plan is very interesting to me. I don't know. I'm not struggling with it. It's just like it's just a weird way. The jumping around, which isn't really jumping around, is weird for me. But I'm excited to be in Joshua. And I'm telling you what, after what we've been reading, I'm pretty excited. So yeah,
the recaps are wrapping up. It's real nice. And I like to, I mean, because I felt the same way you did about like how out of order it was. And I just thought, I am so thankful that this is all on a plan and I didn't have to come up with this myself. Like I can just follow the little ticks on you version.
You didn't have to put it in chronological order.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's, I mean, that's the one thing. Yeah, because that's what I say. It seems like it's out of order for us in the normal way that we read it, but it's really supposed to be in actual order. So I don't know. It's messing with my mind, just like everything else in this world right now. So, all right. So what's your recap?
Well, my recap is, wow, I did not do that. I didn't do the recap. What?
I'm gone for 1 week. I'm gone for 1 week, and you eliminate my favorite part of the show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
This quarantine is getting to me. My system is totally thrown off. It didn't even occur to me. Oh man. You know what the problem was? Is I knew I would be using my laptop for this. So I took my notes on my phone. And since I took them on my phone, I wasn't using my regular note-taking thing, which has the format for the recap in it. So it did not even occur to me.
Oh man.
I'm embarrassed.
I'm telling you what, my world is just shattering. Like right before my own eyes.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can give a short version. I'll give a book recap.
Can we blame Kelly Drake for this? I think it's her fault. She draked you.
Not true.
You got draked and you reclaimed your life and you took out.
I took out all the unnecessary parts of the podcast and just.
My favorite part. Yeah, that's great. I had no vote in it.
Yeah.
No.
I'll put that together and then we'll go on Facebook.
All right.
There you go. Look forward to that. Probably tomorrow. Because I have to go through and figure it out. But book recap would be Deuteronomy was really just people were dying. I mean, really, we settled pretty heavily on that. The whole previous generation of Israelites died. Moses died, and we go into this new area. There's also the random psalm in there, which I'm assuming is the song that Moses made, which I just thought that was interesting. He's like, all right, let's make a song so you all remember your commitment. So songs are powerful for memorization.
Hey, you know, there's something to be said about worship in this. And that's, you know, so yeah, let's, just like every good TV show, every good thing that you watch, they're cleaning house and starting new. That's where we're at. They're killing killing everybody off, and then we're gonna start new with this this fresh start here.
This is like season 2 of the Bible show. They got rid of all the old cast.
For those of you out there, listen, a little insight into me. When I got married, I started watching Grey's Anatomy. I was never a Grey's Anatomy. Now I'm a Grey's Anatomy fanatic. I watch it all the time. And Grey's Anatomy does this a lot where they have like season ending episodes and they kill off like a whole lot of people. Like they'll go through. So this is the Bible definitely Grey's Anatomy's it right now where they take away.
Literally everybody. Everybody is now.
So here we go. And guess who we got?
Joshua. Yeah.
Coming in for the win.
The cool new guy with like a little bit of Chronicles thrown in there for a bad person who died. But you know what I thought was cool about Joshua is it kept talking about how God established him as leader, which you would have had to have something crazy happen because Moses had been in leadership for so long and all of these miracles had happened under Moses. He was there when they got out of Egypt. And so he had like, you know, some leadership gumption behind him. And Joshua was technically under Moses, but he wasn't, you know, he didn't have all of those previous miracles and things under his belt. And so it was just like time after time it kept saying, and God used this and established Joshua's leadership, and God used this and established Joshua's leadership.
Yeah, and I just, like you said, I think the start of Joshua for me was, I don't know if it's just kind of the time that we're in, but really the way it starts out was so awesome to me. And I think I reread this like 2 or 3 times. Just the fact that it says, you know, in verse 6, it says, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Like, it's just this constant reminder that God is telling you, listen, I've got you. Here it is. Like, go do this. And it's so something that we need right now, because it says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And it just keeps repeating this over and over. And I think for me, in what's going on right now, I needed to keep repeating that over and over and over again. So it was really cool that this was kind of put out there right now. You know, in my life, for personally, that's kind of where I stuck on what was going on for that. So that's my wow verse. I'll give that as my wow verse, because I don't know if you wrote those down this time.
I have verses. Thank you very much. There was also a Jesus verse. A little more subtle this time. You kind of had to know. So it is in Joshua chapter 6, verse 25, and it says, so Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute and her relatives who were with her in the house, because she had hidden the spies Joshua sent to Jericho, and she lives among the Israelites to this day. And this is a Jesus verse because this is the Rahab the prostitute. She ends up marrying an Israelite, and she shows up later in the genealogy of Jesus, which is in the New Testament. So it's like a subtle Jesus reference.
Yep, we'll just throw it in there. We'll just set it in there for you.
Yes,
he's everywhere. Jesus, he's everywhere.
Yeah, he keeps showing up. So that was very cool.
Put that on a t-shirt. Jesus, he keeps showing up.
That would be a great shirt, actually.
See?
Should make that. Another one, and I think this is kind of my wow verse, but it's more like mysterious, I'm going to go with. But it talks about, so this is the end of Deuteronomy, and it says, the Lord our God has secrets known to no one. We are not accountable for them, but we and our children are accountable forever for all that he has revealed to us, so that we may obey all the terms of these instructions. And I always find verses like this very interesting, because there seems to be 2 different dynamics when it comes to knowledge and accountability. So like if you go back as far as Adam and Eve don't have the knowledge of good and evil, right? But then they eat the fruit and they're like, oh crap, we need some clothes. And God says, who told you? God says, who told you that? And it's like this interesting dynamic of before they knew about it, they weren't held accountable for it. But then there's other sections of scripture that talk about where, especially like in Psalms and later on, where individuals in the Bible say, God, make known to me what I am not aware of, as far as like what are my hidden sins? What are those unknown things? And so it's just there's this interesting line in the Bible between knowing something and not knowing something, and how that affects you. And it comes up a lot. So I thought that was very interesting.
Well, and that ties into a lot of the conversations that I get into. Is I think people look at salvation or their belief in Jesus or their commitment to this get out of jail free card where they can keep doing things over and over and over, and they can just ask for forgiveness and they're fine. And it's like, no, it's been made known to you. Like, now you have the knowledge of what Jesus did and what Jesus taught and what you're supposed to be doing. So if you're going to keep going back to that same thing over and over and over again, then like you have to be at some point held accountable for your actions, because then it becomes this heart issue that is bigger than just saying, oh yeah, I believe that, so forgive me. I believe that, so forgive me. You know, it is saying like, listen, it's been made known to you, like you've got it and you have the ability to start understanding it. So now you have to be held accountable for what you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. Good job on that one. That's a pretty
Thank
good
you.
wild one. You know, you're making up for not having the recap. I'm pretty excited about this.
I feel like I'm not going to live that down. Tragedy.
Hey, maybe next week. Maybe next week. We'll see.
Thank you.
But do you have any science?
You know,
Throwing you on the spot.
there was a section, and I didn't actually write down the verse, I just kind of read over it. But the part where they're going out and they're attacking the enemy, and it's the sun stands still day.
Oh, Stephen Furtick book. Watch out.
There is a book about it. Yeah, I kind of read over it because I thought, isn't there another account of this somewhere? And I feel like I'm missing it. So I was distracted and didn't write it down. I have to remember. Let me look. You talk about something for a second.
I do love, so here's what I like. I get caught up in different like the bold headings of some of this. So right after the sun stands still, the next ones, which I always find funny, of like how they had these certain things, but it's like 5 Amorite kings killed, southern cities conquered, northern kings defeated, list of defeated kings. Like this is just a like last still to be taken, like land still to be taken. Like what's our checklist of what to do? But I just love the list of defeated kings. Like there is an actual in here a list, and it's just like these are all the kings, 31 kings in all that are defeated. And that one just cracked me up. Like you can just have this hit list of kings that are defeated. So hey, you know what? Good wall of fame right there for the kings right here. But yeah, I always thought that was the King of Jericho. It's just that list of what my accomplishments were right there in the Bible.
My resume.
So, here, just in case you need
Look
it.
Look at all these guys
I
took out.
Joshua 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at all this.
Okay,
yeah,
so sorry. Clear my throat.
Oh no.
It's Anna, not. No, it's I'm legitimately clearing my throat.
In today's age, you cannot cough. That just doesn't happen. You're not allowed.
Okay, sorry. All right, so it's in Joshua 10, and it's like verse 12 through 13. So on the day the Lord gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of all the people of Israel, and he said, let the sun stand still over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Ajalon. So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. Is this event not recorded in the book of Jashar? The sun stayed in the middle of the sky and it did not set as on a normal day. Which is interesting to think about. So 2 different parts, because he specifically says, let the sun stand still and the moon too. So like from a science perspective, like if it was just the sun, then you're looking at, well, what happened. Did the Earth just stop rotating all of a sudden? Which would make sense. But if the sun and the moon are standing still, then you're looking at, and like it's a little bit different. Like the moon rotates differently than the Earth does around the sun. So there would have to be two non-moving celestial objects happening at the same time. Unless you're just talking about, when the moon's in the sky and if it's directly behind or like off behind directly in front of the sun, you don't always see it because of how much light it is. So it could be that.
Wow. That was a deep dive. Deep dive on astrology right there.
Well, that was the science thing. And I have thought about this section before. I have thought about it because I was like, well, how would that work? Because if the Earth did stop rotating, don't you think you would feel that? Like, oh my god!
Oh, everybody, it's like when you stop a car too fast. Kind of
yeah, like that, exactly. Or so I don't know. It was an interesting thing to think about because it probably would have made so much sense. Like if we're thinking about astronomy from like a old age perspective, like before, who was it, Galileo, that was excommunicated for saying the Earth rotated around the sun? Was that him? There was some guy in there. I don't think it was Galileo. It was somebody. But anyways, before we knew that the Earth rotated around the sun, that verse probably would have made so much sense because it would have been like, oh, well, yeah, you just stop the sun. It doesn't affect us at all. But with the know-how that the Earth would have to stop, that makes it a little bit different.
Yeah.
Or is it really just a time thing? Because it could be a time thing. Like it could be that time itself came to a stop, in which case none of those other things would have really mattered.
Wow. Give you something to think about the rest of the day.
Think about that.
Wow.
Was it that the Earth stopped rotating, or was it that 1 second stretched into a full day?
Man. I'm going into like full like Marvel movie superhero mode right now in my head.
Yeah.
I'm doing like Doctor Strange time stone.
We all know it's possible. You just need the amulet. And then maybe that's what Joshua had, the amulet thing.
I did not read that in here. So
no, I didn't either, but you never know.
Oh man. So here's my question is, where did we get to? Like where, because listen, my life has, as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air says, been flipped, turned upside down in this situation with the kids at home and everything. So I've been definitely doing catch up, and I don't know if I flew past our point in time or if I hit the mark. So
this week ended with Joshua 12, technically verse 1 through 6.
Whew, all right.
So you're well beyond.
No, not well beyond. Just I went a little too far. A little too far.
No judgment.
So that, because I got through the defeated kings, and then I kind of kept going through. I think 16 was. It's because 16 was short, so I went through 16. So.
You know, something interesting is all of the books that are mentioned in these books that are not these books, like the Book of Jashar. Or there was another one earlier on that talks about, and is this not all written in I think it's called the Wars of the Lord or something like that. And so all of these different books that are mentioned that are not this.
Yeah.
Although there is one that talks about, it says, I'm going to pass it. Joshua 8:34. Joshua then read to them all the blessings and curses Moses had written in the book of instruction. And I thought, I wonder if that's like Exodus or Numbers or even this book, Deuteronomy.
Yeah, like I was wondering, like, because we talk, and it's funny what we talk about, and then this goes back, and he's like, I read all this, and it's like we talked about Moses going through and having to say, okay, now don't do this. What's the consequence? It's death. All right, don't do this. And we joked about how, so do you think Joshua has the same thing? Like he's reading, he's like, okay, now don't do this. And repeat after me. What's the consequence? And it's death.
It's death.
Like, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
him reading. Like, that's the instruction manual that we spent so much time going, oh, we can't get through this. Like, oh, we got to go hang out with Joshua again because he's going to read that book of
Yeah.
instruction. Yeah, so maybe they felt the same way.
And it did say they every 7 years they all get together and they just listen basically to what was the Bible at that time, reading of the Bible.
Man, maybe that's what I'm going to do with my kids now that we're home in quarantine. I think we're just going to read the book of instruction.
Do it. Do it.
Check
Kids,
back with me next week when
sit-
we're going to go by Old Testament law here at the Anderson household.
oh no.
Oh no, this could go really bad.
I'm gonna be sending people to your house. Like, I know it's quarantine, but they need help.
They need help. They haven't got to the New Testament yet. They're stuck in the Old Testament. Oh, no.
Too funny.
Oh, but yeah, so maybe we'll see. We'll see what we're gonna do. Gather around, kids. The book of the law. You thought losing your video games was a bad consequence. Wait till you hear about this.
Not this bad.
Oh man.
Okay, this is my last random verse, and just
All right.
because it's really a section, so it's right before they're gonna take out Jericho, and it says, it's in Joshua chapter 5, and it's talking about the commander of the Lord's army shows up, right? And then, so two interesting things happen. First of all, Joshua asks him, "Are you a friend or foe?" And he says, neither one." And I thought that's very interesting that he showed up in front of Joshua, but he's like, "I don't really have a stance either way on what's happening here." I was like, "What is that all about?"
Neutral.
And then they have this, and so he says, "Take off your sandals, it's holy ground," yada yada, which is also very interesting because that's kind of like holy ground etiquette, take off your shoes. But then Jesus came and he made us holy, so is this perhaps not etiquette as we are now because we are made right with God? That's just a side thought that I was thinking about. But what I found most interesting about this passage is the commander of the Lord's army shows up. He says, "I'm not a friend or a foe." Joshua kind of like kneels down, and that's it. It does not, like, did they talk? Did they hang out? Like, it doesn't say anything else. It doesn't even say he left necessarily. He's just
gonna
like,
leave that part out.
Popped up and he was like, "What's up?" And then they move right into the next day where they're like, "Let's march around Jericho." And that was it.
Yeah, I guess you know what? We're just gonna. It's for him to know and for us to just wonder about. Like,
I guess, yeah.
when the commander of the Lord's army shows up to you, you can document it, but you don't have to.
You don't have to.
But maybe it's like one of those big time interviews. They're like, "We can talk, but this has to be off the record."
Off the record.
Like,
Yeah.
don't hit the record button.
Don't write this down on your rock. Don't just.
We're gonna keep this off the record. But no, I did like the fact, and I highlighted. I had to check, but I highlighted the fact that he's like, "No, I don't have a side. Like, I'm just here. Like, I'm here, and listen, I'm in this, and I'm just going to give you truth. I'm going to give you information. Like, I'm going to point you in this direction, but it's not going to be friend or foe. I'm not got your back or their back. I'm just going in this direction." Like, that's kind of really explaining, like, that's God's will or God's path. It's like not taking sides. It's just, it's truth. And it's searching for that truth. But yeah, I think, yeah. And then when he shows up to you, feel free to record it, but bet you'll find out they're going to say, "Nope. Off the record." Off the record.
Yeah.
But this was fun.
Yeah. Next steps.
Next steps. Stay in your house. Stay home.
Read your children the book of instruction.
Yeah. Take some good family time. Gather around and just read the book of instruction.
Eric's gonna be guinea pigging that for all of us, so we'll be able to find out.
Oh, next I'll be from a jail cell. Well, we went by the book of instruction, and death happened. Sorry, it was a bummer.
So next step, I think for me, is I'm stealing it from Eric. God is with you. Like, remember that. Think about it.
I really think we talk about this quarantine and this, like I said, it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be like vacation time and just kind of time to reboot and the schedule not be as crazy. But what I've realized is like this is not only time to reconnect relationships, but really reconnect with your relationship with God. Like, where is that at? And where can you, if you wipe the slate clean with everything else, where does that lie? And is that top priority? Does that start your day? Is prayer part of your day? Are you asking for prayer or asking people what you can pray about? And are you using this time to really strengthen that relationship? Or are you pushing God out of this situation? Because if you're pushing God out of this situation, I don't know how you're going to get through it, because
Yeah.
I've needed to now move closer and closer to him and say, okay, now I'm putting everything in you and I'm going to totally sell out in ways that I haven't sold out before, because that's what's going to get me through this. So I think that's a huge next step tips is don't be afraid to sell out for God in this
Yeah,
situation.
for sure. Yeah. And if you need like
So,
tips and things about what that looks like, call your friends. I mean,
yeah,
again,
hey,
you're not
listen,
alone.
I'll hop on Google Hangouts, Zoom.
Eric would
Somebody
love
call me,
to
please.
have social
FaceTime.
interaction.
Yes, don't worry.
Somebody call me.
I'm completely good with it. I will free my schedule. Just somebody call me, please. Be on
Yes,
the phone. All right,
exactly.
Anna, this has been awesome.
It's been great. Hey, thank you for listening to some fairly normal people talking about the Bible in quarantine. And hope your quarantine is going
In
well.
my box, right here.
Yes,
So
exactly.
sad.
So, thank you.
All right, next week.
Next week again.
Bye.
Bye.